Welcome everybody to the mymaaastricht webinar. My name is Thomas. I'm working for the university for a program called Student in City. We do all kind of projects to help students to settle in Maastricht and connect to the city. And mymaaastricht was one of the first ones in that framework, an information platform about which we will tell you all about today and give you information what you need to know before your arrival here. Yeah, Fran and Maria will guide you through the presentation, and don't hesitate to ask any questions, either ideally by using the Q&A function, and I will try to answer them in writing or forward them through to Fran and Maria.
Thanks, Thomas. So hi, everyone. Just quickly, a quick introduction. I'm Fran. I'm Argentinian, but I also grew up in Dubai. I'm a law student. It's the third year of my bachelor's, and I'm 22 years old. And I'm the content coordinator for mymaastricht, which means that I just write for the website and I research a lot of the information that's on there. So yeah, welcome.
Yeah, hey everyone, and welcome also. So my name is Maria. I'm 20 years old, and I'm also studying law. I'm a second-year bachelor student, and I'm from Spain. And I've been living here in Maastricht for 2 years now, so hopefully you find all this information really useful.
Okay, so just quickly about this webinar, we're looking at around 30 to 45 minutes of the presentation. It also depends on the questions that come up. It is recorded and it will be available on our platform later. So you see at the bottom our YouTube channel, so you can find the videos there if you want to refresh or go over any of the information we addressed today. You can use the Q&A function to ask us any questions that you might have, although we do prefer, no, we don't prefer, we ask you that you don't ask us COVID or university related questions. This presentation will be mostly about Maastricht, the city, moving here, living here. So any questions related to that, we're happy to address, but we don't know anything about your faculty or about COVID rules. Those change all the time. So we'll stay away from those. The topics we'll go over, so about the city in general, then housing and essential information before moving here, jobs, living expenses. If you visit Maastricht beforehand, we'll give you some tips and tricks as well. And lastly, how mymaastricht can help you in this whole process. So just quickly, what is mymaastricht? We're a one-stop information platform for new students to settle in Maastricht, find their feet in the city. We help you do this by providing information on anything from finding the best drinks in town, applying for Dutch subsidies, but also opening a bank account, finding housing, figuring out the bike situation, and everything in between. So the project was created by students for students, and we are supported by Maastricht University, Zuid University of Applied Sciences, and the Gemeente, which is the municipality of Maastricht. So our information is legit. Yeah, so that is us.
Yeah, wait, Thomas, did you disable my video?
I didn't disable it, it stopped by itself, so I don't know. Maybe you have to try yourself to start and stop and start again.
Okay, Fran, can you do this one? No, we'll...
Yeah, for sure. No worries. So this is our website, guys. This is what it looks like. You can see on the compass, you have the green, blue, light blue, and yellow sections. Those are our get settled sections. So they're your finances, your transport, your health, and your housing, more the admin stuff. And then the rest is your go explore section. That has to do more with like exploring the city, finding your community, finding the people that you're going to be around and hanging out with. So you have our city map, which has tons of student recommendations. We'll go over it a little bit later on the presentation. And then you have your sports and communities, which is more like student organizations and associations. And then our media, which is more about current events and things happening in the city. And then on the side, you see the what's happening bar. And this is a new feature we just implemented, and it aims to just tell students what's new in the city, important updates, and just current events as well. So this is what it looks like. Make sure to check it out. All right, I'll also do this slide, Maria, and then we'll continue with the usual. But yeah, so the first thing that we always say is why you should come to Maastricht. Okay, Maastricht is super diverse and international. So there are 120,000 people, more or less, living in the city. 20,000 of these are students, and just in Maastricht University, 55% of the students and 40% of the staff are international. So these are pretty impressive figures, at least for me. I always lived in quite an international setting, and this was a huge consideration for me when choosing a university. And let me just tell you, I have not been disappointed. Maastricht is wonderful when it comes to, just people coming from all over the place. That means also that it's super welcoming because everybody is new. Everyone just moves here and wants to make friends and meet new people. And so it's really easy to get settled. And just find your group of people. So in that sense, it's wonderful. Also, geographically, Maastricht is in the heart of Europe, which is great if you want to travel, move around, even for exploring the Netherlands, obviously. But outside of that as well, there's a bunch of airports nearby, lots of connections. So travel-wise, it's also pretty nice. If there are no questions, we'll move on.
So
maybe we quickly pick up the one question because I think it fits very well. What makes Maastricht stand out from all the other cities for students?
Maybe this is a subjective thing. What is it for you, Maria?
I would say it's the combination of having good quality education and cheaper than in other countries, and at the same time having all this international atmosphere in which you will you will feel very welcome. Because everyone is new, everyone is kind of alone into this new beginning. So you very quickly find friends and find people that have more or less the same hobbies as you. So I would say this combination. What would you say, Fran?
For me, it's definitely the international environment, but also to me, it's amazing how even after almost 2 years, 2.5 years of living here, sometimes I just walk down the street and I have to stop and be like, wow, this city is beautiful. The city itself for me is just amazing. The historic city center is beautiful, and it's just, really cute. I don't think I could ever imagine having lived in such a nice city before. And Thomas, you're the veteran here. The resident.
I think it's just a very unique city that is small, but not too small for its size. It offers really a lot of things to do, and it's super bike friendly, has a lot of beautiful nature around, and is, as Fran said, very well connected to other bigger international cities like Cologne, Brussels, Amsterdam, even Paris. So you can focus here for your studies, have a great time, but you can also explore the rest of Europe and the Netherlands quite easily.
Yep. Cool. Nice question.
Okay, so if there are any further questions, we can continue regarding transport, and we will speak about two main topics here. So first, everyone here when needs new to Maastricht and gets to Maastricht normally buys a bike, because you will see that everyone is riding a bike on the street. So there are some things you need to know when buying one. First, that it is very safe to cycle here. So there are a lot of bike lanes, and there are many people who is always in front of you, so it's not really difficult to follow the rules. But also make sure that you comply with the rules, with the legal rules, such as having working lights or a good lock, also because there are some problems with stolen bikes. And when buying a bike, I would say go to our website and check what different options do you have. You can either go to Facebook or go to a shop, but always make sure that it is not stolen, because sometimes you could end up having some legal consequences from it. And also, it's not that used here, but we also have buses. So for that, you can buy an OB chip card. There's one anonymous. There's one that you can put your name on, and it's way cheaper than having to pay by cash or card each time a ticket. Each time you get in a bus. It's not, maybe if you live kind of in the city center or near or close to everything, it's not that useful as a bike can be. But still, there are some times that you will for sure use a bus. It is maybe for visiting another city or going to the exams that they make. So you will see these two options are really, really popular here in Maastricht.
All right, no questions? Move on.
We will pick the other two up in a bit.
Okay, cool. All right, so in terms of just community lifestyle, what things there are to do, Maastricht is really, I think, a bar and restaurant kind of place. So there's a ton of places to explore and to get to know when it comes to going out, drinking, eating. So that's really nice. There's also pretty diverse music and cultural scene. Sorry, Maria disappeared in her background. Yeah, so when it comes to things to do, from museums, we got a bunch of cinemas, theaters, venues in general, and then also activities like bouldering, bowling, snooker, everything like this. You also have a bunch of different community organizations for all kinds of interests. So whether it's, I don't know, chess or environmentalism or feminists or anything that you can think of, there is something out there. And sports wise, there's also a lot of variety. So you can see at the bottom there, the logo, Sport. That's a university sports complex, and they have tons of different classes from Krav Maga to squash and everything in between. So that's a great option. You also have, in terms of finding a community and people, Kaleido is a big one. So it's more of a culture, social group of people who just really enjoy getting together and doing things like open mic nights, even like poetry, I believe, and comedy nights and things like this. There's also ISAP, which is the International Student Ambassador Program, and they really focus on integrating new international students. They have events for people to just get to know the city and get to know other students as well. So that's another great option if you're new here and you want to meet people and integrate into the community in general. So definitely also check out our sports and community pages when it comes to this, because they list all the organizations in the city that you can check out when it comes to joining clubs and associations.
Yeah, we have two questions on that. Maybe the one is even already answered. Are there usually gigs and concerts here? Yeah, I think pre-corona, there definitely was a very vibrant, lively cultural scene, which of course stopped pretty much because everything was not allowed, but it's slowly starting up again. Let's hope, yeah, we'll go back to what it was. There are a couple of venues and a good cultural scene. And the other one, yeah, in which ways does Maastricht answer current and future zeitgeist? Yeah, I think it's a very deep question. What do you guys think about that?
Frankly, I don't even know what it means. What do you mean by answer the zeitgeist?
Like that it really connects to the generation of students today. I think Maastricht University tries that more than most universities, with being branded as an international university, and the city reflects that more and more. I would say a lot of things have happened in recent years in terms of like, yeah, a new bowling bar, which we coincidentally visited yesterday, or like the student hotel, a lot of new bars and restaurants.
But I feel like also what I do see here is that students are really I was actually kind of surprised that so many young people are into such sort of, a lot of people are more than willing to engage in things like political discussions, and the atmosphere, at least in a lot, depends on your faculty as well also, but it tends to be more on the progressive side. Everyone is super like kind of, I don't know, engaged in current events, which was something that really surprised me here, but maybe in that sense also it kind of answers your question.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, people here is really proactive and willing to participate in everything, in discussion and in the million associations that we have here.
I think also if you check our community page, the associations reflect kind of the variety in the city of different groups, whether political, non-political, or activist or not, or like there's something for everyone. So I don't think you will lack anything when it comes to society and culture. And
a membership for Sport, what does it cost?
This I actually don't know. Do you know, Thomas or Maria?
I'm not sure anymore. You pay different subscription models, of course, depending if you take it out for a month or for a whole year. In any case, it's the cheapest offer in the city in terms of the broadest offer that it has. There are also, of course, gyms or other options if you want to focus on one sport only. Most sports organizations or student sport organizations are connected to Sport. Then you anyhow need a basic Sport membership and then become a member and pay a membership fee to to the student sport organization that you will take part in. So for most cases, even sports is anyhow a good idea.
Yeah, I'd say it's between 15 and 20 euros per month.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, and if you pay like the whole year, it's way cheaper than that, yeah.
So very interesting questions already. Thanks already for this. Somebody asked if it's allowed to roller skate on the streets.
There's a lot of cobblestone streets. So in those, I don't think it will be very pleasant for you, but otherwise, yes, it is allowed.
And there are like actually to the Maas and another river is on the side of the towards Belgium, and there are parts in the city where you can really nice roller skate. Yeah. So in the inner city itself, it has this historic cobbles, but for the rest, I think it's great. There is also a roller skate community actually. I know who meet once a week and do Maastricht by skates.
There's a community for everything.
Yeah.
So.
Is there a big Latin American community? Fran, do you know about that one? Do bars and clubs also have Latin themed nights with Latin music?
What? Repeat the last part?
Do bars and clubs also have Latin themed nights with Latin music?
Yeah, so obviously COVID aside, there used to be like reggaeton nights and everything at the lab. Now the lab closed, but they're at Complex. They usually have reggaeton nights. And yeah, actually, I was really surprised at the Latin American community. Like, I unfortunately don't have social media, so I can't join any Facebook groups, but I know that those exist. And I do know quite a few Latin American people, from Peruvians to Ecuadorians to Colombians and everything in between. Argentinians, not so many actually, but everything else, yeah.
Yeah, and there's also a dance academy focused only on Latin American dances, so you can learn salsa, reggaeton, everything.
Yeah.
To not stuck too long on this slide, I'm going to answer two more questions. Does UM have its own football team? Not an own one, but they have a football organization, which is kind of the supported one from UM. I can send it also to you if you send another message what the name is, but you will easily find it on our website as well. And then it's are like hotspots for students to meet and party for sure. Send us a message with your if you want some recommendations.
Check out a map as well. Those are all the student spots in the city.
Yeah. So we have a good overview, or if you check or open our map to see where to go. And yeah, we can't pick out one. I think it depends on which faculty you are and what music you like. Where do you want to go?
Really nice questions.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah. What's the next slide? Let's see.
Okay.
Map, right? Oh, yeah. All right. So the other thing that you can also find on our website is a map with everything you need to know about Maastricht, with every student spot that you must visit when you are here. And we have a screenshot here of what our map is, and you can see that of course Maastricht is divided by a river in two parts, so it depends a bit on which faculty are you going to study, that you should try to find accommodation in one of these sites. So for example, if you are going to study law or at the UCM SBE, you should pick more the left side and try to look for accommodation in these areas that you see here, for example, Brussels Port, Mariaberg, all of that. And on the other part, if you are going to study at FHML, FPN, how do you say that? FPN. Okay, then you should look more into those areas, but keep in mind that everything is pretty close to every part of Maastricht. So if you end up living on the other side of the river, the opposite of your faculty, you can reach a faculty in about 15 minutes. So it's completely fine. And even, for example, if you live around week, then you are pretty close to the exams location. So you will have pros and cons everywhere. Yeah. And I think that's it for the map. Do you have any questions, guys?
Just quickly to clarify, the map now is only showing university buildings. If you go on there, there's a lot when it comes to bars, restaurants, venues, museums, thrift stores, vegan places, everything like you guys could ever wish to know about the city is on the map. So definitely check it out.
In line with the map and also with transport, we got two questions about if it's easy to travel to the rest of the Netherlands or to Amsterdam, for example.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, the transport system in the Netherlands is amazing. And there's also Flixbus, which gets to Amsterdam from Maastricht, and it's also cheaper than the trains, and it's yeah, really convenient. So if it's not the trains, then it's a bus, and yeah.
I would say every part of the Netherlands is really accessible from here.
Yeah.
Even talking about the direct train from Maastricht to Amsterdam, that doesn't stop. So let's hope that comes alive.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. And I think from like the airport in Amsterdam, for example, it's just like one switch. So it's like 2 trains, and then it's all pretty streamlined. So yeah, no problem. So move on.
Move on. I will pick up more questions next slides.
Cool.
Okay, so a lot of people were asking us what are the most popular spots when coming to Maastricht, because we understand that you want to come maybe before with your family or friends to visit a bit the city and spend here a couple of days. So we thought that we should give you some recommendations on spots that are maybe not that touristic, but are still worth the view. So first we have St. Peter, which is kind of the only hill or mountain that we have in the city. And it's the picture on the bottom. And there you can like go on a hike, and you will enjoy really beautiful views of the city. And mostly at sunset, I would say that's my favorite time to spend there. We also have a Hofronten Park, which is a really, really green park. It feels like you are in the middle of a forest, and you are really close to the city center. So it's always good to go there for a walk when you are stressed out or you need to relax a bit from your studies. And it's from the city center is maybe by foot like 7 minutes. So it's really, really close. We also recommend you the neighborhood called Week, or the area, in which you will find many, many restaurants, cafes, and also stores. And this is not like as common as the city center, which might be crowded or maybe more expensive, but also it's really worth it to visit. And all the places there, I would say it has like a vibe, really young people and everything. So I really like that part of Maastricht. And last, you want to say something?
Go ahead, sorry.
Last but not least, we have Marina d'Oisans, which is a kind of, well, is what you see in the first picture. It's surrounded by the 2 most important cinemas that we have here. And it has all this atmosphere, you can go there to enjoy some drinks with your friends, with your family, eat something. And it's a really cool place to enjoy the view. I would say it has water, so boats, it's pretty cool. And yeah, take some pictures, I would say, for your Instagram.
Take us in it.
like my Maastricht.
Yeah. 3 more questions about life in Maastricht. Let's start with, is life in Maastricht different in the summer than it is during the school year?
I love summers here, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, especially like obviously maybe in the middle of the summer, because a lot of people are international, they just go back home. But the summer months are my favorite here. It's really fun, and it's beautiful, and the weather is perfect, and it's just the nature around Maastricht is amazing. And then in the school year, obviously, like you see the hustle and bustle. Like Maastricht University is a pretty like fast-paced kind of like you see a lot of people like going back and forth from the library, from tutorials. It's a lot more like business, like in the sense that you see a lot of people like doing their things. And yeah, obviously the winter makes things different, like it's colder, it's
yeah, I would say more or less like we do the same activities during the whole year, but of course in winter it's indoors everything. So instead of going to a party at the park, you go to a house party or to a venue, something like that. It's quite different, but at the same time I think it has a really good points of both.
Yeah. And you really see that a lot of students leave over the summer, and then it's more quiet. But I'm with Fran. I love the summer here. It's really great temperatures to be at. It's more calm. Maybe a bit more tourists come here then, but you can enjoy the city in a total different way than during the school year. Maybe in line with that also, how's the weather throughout the year in Maastricht?
I mean, it's the Netherlands, guys. Let's be real here. Compared to the rest of the Netherlands, I think it's really good. Like genuinely, I've heard people that study at like Groningen or whatever, and like they cannot deal with the weather up there. And here, like for example, today is a beautiful day. It's like blue skies, sunny, like, and spring springtime here also. I think spring is my favorite season here,
As
actually.
well.
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
me, I've always visited the north before, so Amsterdam and all of these, and I thought that here it was going to be horrible. I brought all my huge jackets, and then I realized it's not that bad. You get sun sometimes.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't rain
spring.
as much as well.
2 more questions on this. Is the city, what are some typical local foods, and is the city vegetarian friendly?
Super vegetarian friendly, vegetarian and vegan friendly. Local foods, croquetten, fly, Lindbergh's fly is like a must. It's like this kind of pie. It's amazing. They come in all sorts of flavors. You must try this. What else? The fish with the onion. What is that called? Tell me.
Kipling? What do you mean? Kipling and zuurvlees for sure, which is like a very typical local meat, like in a pot with.
The churros in general, like the fried stuff.
Yeah, everything in a frituur, how you call it in Dutch. They love their fried stuff.
Waffles.
Yeah,
Fries.
but there is generally very diverse cuisine here in the city, a lot of restaurants. So try local things, but also try other things. How windy is it? Somebody asks.
Quite.
Quite windy, but not as much as on the sea in the north of Netherlands. So some days it can be very windy, but on average, I think it's just like a quite central European city. It rains some days, and some days it's very sunny and nice. And overall, it's relatively mild. I think last year we had a bit of snow, but mostly not. This is eating out expensive. Maybe we can still pick this, and then we continue.
Do you want to go, Maria, or?
Is what expensive?
Eating out.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we are going to talk about expenses later.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can expect, I mean, I don't know which country are you from, but you can expect that here is more expensive, I would say, than other countries, or maybe like such as capitals, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not as expensive as Amsterdam, but it is also not a cheap city. Yeah, so we will get to expensive action in a bit, as well as all the housing questions. So we will tackle that now. So and I will try to pick up remaining open questions after that. So maybe we
and also so you know, in our city map, we always try to pick the restaurants and cafes that are more student friendly and more cheaper than others.
All right, so housing. This is an important topic. The first thing you need to know is that if you're starting school in September, then we really, really recommend that you start looking for housing around April. So this doesn't mean that you need to be signing your contract in April, but we highly recommend that you at least start doing a little bit of research including reading up our section on the website related to housing, because there you'll get all the tips and tricks to find the best housing possible, an idea of what the market is like, and an idea also of like, potential pitfalls, like maybe scams or certain fees that are hidden or that you shouldn't pay, or things like this that sometimes international students can be more vulnerable to when they're moving to a different place and they don't know how things work. So we really recommend, this is not just us trying to plug our website. We have put a lot of effort into it, talking to different organizations, because we sometimes get questions from students who have gotten into trouble related to their housing because they just didn't, know how things worked here. So we highly recommend that you check out that section. We'll cover your main options in this slide, and the main sort of like pitfalls when it comes to each of them. But there's a lot more information to be had. So the first option that we always recommend is Maastricht Housing. So this is, of course, the official housing agency of the universities, which means that it tends to be more regulated and it's catering specifically to students, meaning prices will probably be more student friendly, more accessible. And also you will be living alongside other students as opposed to in a building where maybe no one else is a student, which can happen if you rent from private agencies. So Maastricht Housing does charge you a €35 one-time fee, but this means that you pay the fee once and then you have your subscription for forever, basically. So if you're staying in Maastricht for 3 years, it might really be worth your while. if you're doing your bachelor's, right? So Maastricht housing is the only way you can access the guest house, which is the university dorms. So if you're looking for like your typical, uni style dorms where you're sharing a bunch of stuff with a bunch of different students, it's really international, really social environment, then that is something that you might want to consider. You can also get private landlords offering rooms and studios as well. So it's not just the guest house that you can get to through Maastricht housing. And then the other thing that Maastricht housing allows you to do is get to the social housing corporations. So that's the second box. So Maasvallei, Servatius, and Woonpunt are the 3 subsidized organizations in Maastricht. So they're all over the Netherlands, but those are our specific 3. The properties are, like I mentioned, subsidized by the government. So the government basically gives money to that sector so that their properties are more accessible to students, meaning cheaper. They also have, they're not profit oriented. They have better practices. And generally it's a great option for you as a student here. So you can get really, really nice housing for not very expensive prices usually. So definitely recommend that you look into that. And if you want to access that, then you will have to go through Maastricht housing, pay the €35 fee. Then we move on to more the private market, and that's your private landlords offering their housing either through marketplaces like on Facebook or through private agencies. There are many in the city, and a bunch of different ways to actually like find out what they are and what the different offerings are websites like Pararius and Camernet, which you see there on the third box. So they will just show you a map of the city, and then the different properties will be listed throughout, and you can just look at the different options. We do recommend that students be careful when it comes to these private landlords, especially things like Facebook offerings on Facebook and certain agencies which might have better reputations than others. So if you're going to rent from an agency, it's a good idea to always look up reviews and see how other people's experiences with them have been, and just generally to be like, keep an eye out for people that might be, out there to just get more money from you than you should be paying, or maybe even scam you. So you should always, if you're seeing the property from a distance, as in you won't be in Maastricht to see it, you should always request a video conference so you can see it properly beforehand. Negotiate the contract if you feel like something is wrong, things like this. Don't be scared, know your rights, read up on the website what they are. And then other options for you, if you don't like any of the other 3, are Zior. So this is basically a private organization that has student housing. They also have properties in Belgium. So this is a big option for a lot of students. They offer really nice studios, maybe on the more expensive side, but you'll be living alongside other students in a really social environment. There's a student hotel, which is what the name implies. It's like a hotel style accommodation for students. Again, really social. They organize social events, pub crawls. You get a gym membership, I believe, and a bike. But it's definitely more on the expensive side. And then if you need a short-term solution, you haven't found housing yet, you can always go to the Stay OK, which is our little hotel/hostel in the city.
To conclude this slide and also pick up a couple of more questions. What we don't there was a question, would you recommend living on campus or rent by something in the city? It really depends on what you like. If you prefer like meeting people quicker, and then something like the young guest house is really nice in the beginning because you are closer to other students, or like also the student hotel where you will meet quicker more people. But it's also possible that you immediately rent something and then via your studies meet people. We definitely recommend also to participate in income, like the introduction week before actually the academic year starts. The main recommendation is read upon our website how the housing market looks like, and start early enough. Like you see here, start school in September, start looking around April, and then, as Fran said, make sure that your contract safeguards you. And if you have a question, you can contact the Huurteam Zuid-Limburg, which is the logo on the bottom left. We will also give the contact information at the end of our presentation. And then you should be relatively safeguarded and find a nice place.
The HER team can also check your contract. So if you receive a contract from a landlord, it will probably be in Dutch and you're not sure what it's about. You should definitely try and get it translated yourself. But if you really need the help, you can send it to them and they will check it for you that everything is legal. So that is definitely a good thing. We'll give you their email in a bit. No more questions about housing, Thomas?
If so, I will pick them in a bit.
Okay, cool. So when it comes to jobs and living expenses in Maastricht, we give some figures. These are estimates and averages. So your situation could vary very much compared to this. So the average inclusive rent price that we would say is quite accurate is around 500. So inclusive meaning with gas, water, and electricity in there. There is obviously like a much wider range. So you can find for things for as cheap as 350 inclusive, and ranging all the way up to 700 for like a nice studio, and obviously beyond. But we would say that 350 to 700 is the range that most students are in. When it comes to your monthly expenses, so everything outside of rent, it could be groceries, gym subscription, and just general costs associated with studying. We estimate around 400 to 500 is the case. And also we always ask students to keep in mind that when you first move to a city, there are going to be a lot more costs initially, and later on they will subside. So don't worry if you end up spending a little bit more in your first few months here. It's normal. You just move to a city, you're getting a bunch of things that you might not need to get in the future. And so it might be a little bit more expensive in the beginning, but don't let that scare you. Maria, do you want to cover jobs or?
Yeah, sure. So what we have a lot of question about is about whether Dutch is required to actually work here. And the answer is no. So you can easily work if you're an English speaker. You can easily work everywhere as a waitress, in a store. So you will find a job. It's not that difficult. Of course, we recommend you, as always, when you move to a country, it's good to know its language. And I think even the university offers a first year student free Dutch courses. Yes, I think so. And also it's like people are really, really flexible when you start a job. So there are a lot of part-time jobs. You can easily combine your studies with working, and your boss or whatever will tell you the schedule at the beginning of the month, and then you will have time to organize yourself and having everything kind of find a balance. But it is true that we always recommend new people. And for me, for example, I was new here, so it was my first time living alone, and I needed 2 months kind of to set up in and kind of to know the city and know how the studies went, because you have to get used to PBL, you have many, many things to do. So I would recommend you to maybe for the first couple of months, don't look for a job and just settle in. And once you are you are used to everything here, then you should start searching for a job. If of course it's not an urgent need that you need to work, of course it's also easy to do.
Yeah. So getting back to a couple of questions again about the language, it is definitely not necessary to speak Dutch, but it is appreciated. And the university does offer free language courses. So it also, of course, depends also on what faculty you are. For some programs, you might still need Dutch, but for most are exclusively or definitely in English. But I would recommend to take out a Dutch course, even if it's just to say dankjewel, which means thank you if you are at the grocery doing groceries. And yeah, if what Maria said, don't require a job for coming here. We will recommend settle in first, and then you will also find something later. Anything to add? Then we go to the next slide.
All right, so 3 things you must know before coming. First one is that of course you need a health insurance to live in this country, and you should check whether your national insurance covers you here in the Netherlands. So if you are European, you probably have the European health insurance card, and that may cover your basic needs. But if you need more than that, or you are in a different situation, then you should check our website and see whether you are eligible to a health insurance, a private, public. We have many options. And also, if you are trying to work, it's not the same as if you are only here to study. So also check our website for that, and we have all the information and all the steps you need to follow when applying for health insurance. Second, you should register with the municipality if you are going to stay here more than 4 months. So it's quite an easy process. You just have to make an appointment on the website. I think if you just Google Maastricht municipality BCN number, something like that, you have access to the website and you can make an appointment quite easily. And if you do that, then you also will enjoy a DGID, which is basically a digital identification. And with that, you can do many administrative things. You can apply for subsidies. You can also, I think, apply for health insurance with the DGID. And it's quite useful if you are planning to stay here for a long period of time. And last but not least, get to know your neighborhood. I'm a very interested person in everything that surrounds me. So once you find accommodation and know more or less where you're going to stay, you should check our city map. You should check what are the most popular places, which areas are more crowded, and everything that has to do with social life. So you should definitely do that. And also don't forget, please, that these two main things are also important. So garbage system, it's quite different here in the Netherlands, probably than from your home country. So also go to our website and we have information about everything you need to know. You will see that it depends on the week. You can put your trash out or you cannot. You can ask for green bins. You can access some environmental park for big stuff. And also, as we said before, cycling and road safety. So always keep in mind the cycling rules. Always be aware of the fact that it could be dangerous if you don't lock correctly your bike, and or for example, ride without lights. And I think with these 5 things, you are covered to start your life here, right?
Nice. Have any questions?
A lot, but we will not specifically on this, so I'm gonna pick them up later.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're approaching the end. If you guys need a visa to come to the Netherlands, then the visa office will contact you once you get your acceptance. Alternatively, you can also send them an email if you have any questions, but they will contact you if you need a visa. If you want to apply for a scholarship or you want more information about this, then you can also contact the scholarship office. So their email is on there as well. And for more general questions about your studying here, you can always go to the SSC, the Student Services Center. They have a website with a ton of information, but they also have an email that you can send your questions to. So if you guys need any of this info, definitely take a photo of the slide. And I will move on now.
All right, so for all we've talked about and more, you should check out mymaastricht.nl, which is our website, as we said before, and also our social media. So we are always posting things, updates, more information, details, everything you need to know when settling in Maastricht and continue living here. So you have there all our names at the bottom of the presentation. Also, you can send us an email or go to YouTube. We also have very informative videos there. And Thomas, you want to talk about the QR?
Oh yeah, the QR code, if you have a minute, this is an evaluation. We will send you to an evaluation of this presentation. So feel free to scan it now and rate this session. Maybe this is also a great opportunity to pick up a couple of other questions. Somebody asked that they live in Germany and have a car. Is it expensive to park in Maastricht?
If you want to park in the city center or close to it, yes, you have to park outside of the city if you want free parking. Otherwise, yeah, inside the city, I would say it is quite expensive to keep your car there, but there are options, usually like maybe a kilometer or a little bit over a kilometer outside of the city center for you to park your car for free. Yeah.
And you can also request a parking permit if you decide to move here, but that will, of course, will cost you, but then you have at least your fixed parking spots somewhat closer to the city center, and it's safe then. Somebody asked, as a woman, how safe is it to walk alone at night?
For me, it's always been super safe. I've walked around alone at night and have never had any issues. I would always say, of course, tread with care, have your wits about you, use your common sense. But I have traveled like through Europe quite a bit. Like I did some backpacking like back then, and Maastricht is one of the safest places I've ever been in when it comes to European cities. So I wouldn't be worried about that. It's just have your wits about you anywhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with her. And also, of course, you should expect some catcalling because that's very usual for women, but it's quite safe to go at night or like quiet areas, not really dangerous. I didn't have any problem also.
We have 2 more questions about housing. Somebody asks if they only get the condition acceptance and they only know in July like when they're going to be accepted, how should they do that?
In terms of housing, whether you should sign a contract, I would definitely not sign a contract before you know whether you're coming here, because oftentimes contracts come with a minimum of 1 year and then you have to pay a penalty. I don't know if you agree with me, Thomas, there, but I think that if you're not sure whether you're going to be coming to Maastricht, then signing a contract for housing is not the best idea. Unfortunately, it means that you will have to start looking for housing at the time when the housing market is at its sort of like hottest, let's say, and that might make it complicated. I don't know how you would.
This year I find it also a little bit contradictory, but this year actually university recommends to first settle housing before you decide to even enroll in that sense. But I think it's contradictory. I think you should just inform yourself very well beforehand and start up the search for housing early enough, enroll, so that you ideally very close to your final confirmation, or when you hopefully get an indication if you will be here, and also sign and then have found good housing. That would be my advice.
You can also look into the Yum Guest House, which I believe lets you cancel, like lets you rent per month. So you don't have to stay there for a minimum amount of time. You can just cancel a month like in advance. So
also the student hotel is the same.
And the student hotel. So the student hotel is more expensive, but maybe if for a couple of months until the housing market settles down, it might be worth staying there for a little bit. Also, you will make some friends on the way. So that's a good idea. And then just find something in the meantime. So
yeah, and how easy is it to get a house room in Maastricht? I think it's not super easy, but it's nowhere in the Netherlands. It really depends. A lot of student cities, of course, have really increasing numbers of students coming in. And then in September is always the peak moment when everybody is coming. And that then becomes easier during the year. Just inform yourself well and be early enough with your research. Somebody else asked, how easy is it to daily commute to lectures from Belgium, for example, to the law school?
Depends where in Belgium you live. So I have a friend who lives in Belgium. She lives just across the border, maybe like a 15-minute bike ride away from the law faculty, 20 minutes. And if you have an 8:30 lecture tutorial, then you will have to get up a little bit early, but it's nothing like you would have to do the same if you live on the other side of the river, for example. So I wouldn't say it's too different to live in Belgium than to live a little bit outside of the city center in Maastricht,
Yeah, and I would also say it depends a lot on like the COVID situation, because for example, now I have friends who only have to come like 2 days for 2 hours here in Maastricht. But if we have everything offline, then maybe you have to come more days, and it can be expensive or more difficult, but still is possible.
Yeah, a lot of people live in Belgium, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Obviously, don't live in the center of Belgium, 50 kilometers away, maybe, unless you have a car and you're willing to drive it. But if you live just across the border or nearby, then it should be fine.
Also about experience with shared housing, there are all kind of constructs here in the city. I lived in shared housing, and I know a friend and Maria also, or are even living, as far as I know. Everything is possible. Meet real good people, and then sometimes the kitchen is just shared, sometimes the bathroom is also shared, sometimes the whole house.
Yeah, this is why I say start looking early, and then you can
Yeah.
find all the different options and you can see what the offerings are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then maybe some more general questions. Maybe we'll go first to the last slide, and I can also already note down our contact details. Yeah, and you tell something about that first.
So these are our contacts, guys. You can see Maria's email, my email. You can always send us any questions you might have. We also have a WhatsApp managed by Maria. We do ask that you only send us messages through that and not phone calls, because those will not be answered. And then we spoke a little bit about the International Student Help Desk. They're there to help you with your particular situation. So if you didn't find, or if the information on our website does not apply to you in particular, you can always email them and they will help you like address your specific situation. And then we spoke about the Her Team Zuid-Limburg, which is the agency that will help you, the group that will help you with your legal rental issues. So that's their email over there.
Yeah. Maybe what is the downside of Maastricht?
I mean, for me, it's just like, I think it's a Dutch thing. I'm used to I lived in a country where things are open almost 24/7. So you can go 5 a.m. to a store and buy like, whatever, and it will be open. And here things close so early. So this is something of the Netherlands. And I think in Germany, it's also the same. But I would say that for me, like, yeah, walking around at whatever, 11 at night and all stores being closed is kind of weird for me. But yeah, I don't know, it's not Maastricht specific.
Yeah, I would say the same. Also, the fact that everything is quite expensive, as we said before. But I think once you are settled in and starting to meet people that live here, and they can tell you the right spots to go, as well as our city map, then you start spending less money.
True.
So what hours do stores close in the Netherlands? During the week, normal stores close at 6, but on Thursdays they are open until 9, and grocery stores are open until 10 if there is no corona.
Yeah.
And I think the downside of Maastricht, it really depends on what you like. Some people think it's small, other people think, I don't know, I really love it. I think it has not really big downsides if you compare it to other cities. So I think you will have a great time here. You will meet great people. So I would recommend it. Some final questions. How early should I start looking for housing if you're planning to enter in 2023? Well, if you come in the summer semester, so start in February, March, probably you should start around November. To start looking, and if you're now in September, starting a bit earlier, so in April, I think it's a good time, and at least to read on our website, make some notes, and then get an overview. And then May, June should be the most important months to get a grip on where you want to live and want to find something. Yeah, what do we have else? Do you have any suggestions on how to ease your integration?
Join a group in something that you're interested in. Explore the city, like even if you're not like actively like going out doing it to make friends, make an effort to get to know your neighborhood, to get to know the nature around the city. I feel like a lot of people only discover these things like in their last year or towards the end of their studies, and then they regret it a lot. At least that's something that happened to me a little bit. So yeah,
and there are also many associations that focus on having like ambassadors or study buddies, and they can show you the city you can meet. So that's also quite useful to meet new people.
Maybe something else. Also, do you have online classes right now because of COVID, and how long is one semester? Is there any holiday between the year?
Yes, I think we have like half of all of the classes I think we have online and half of them offline. So we still have many lectures online. And from Frankfurt is the same, right?
we have lectures online, classes offline.
Yeah. And
with
what was the other
expectation that more things will, of course, move towards offline again.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it also depends a little bit on your faculty. But at the moment, yeah, if your group has to be big, like in a lecture, then usually those will be online. And then tutorial groups are smaller, so they can be offline in a classroom. And then when it comes to semesters, we call them periods. So it's usually around 8 weeks, and you have one small period in the year, which is a 4-week long course, usually for most faculties. And there are holidays. You have winter holidays. Now you have the carnival holidays or Easter holidays coming up at the beginning of March. And then I think you have some days off.
Yeah, sometimes when you don't have to like go to receipts, then you have like a week off or something like that.
In between class as well. And then obviously summer holidays. So yeah.
Yeah. I think we are pretty much at the end. The first question that actually was asked was, what advice would you give to an international student who will move to Maastricht? And I think it's a great question. I hope that this webinar actually gave you general advice. Also know that we will give more webinars in the coming year. So in May, we will give another one about similar to this, but more specific to what you need to know in the final month before coming here. And then during the intro days, which is the last week before the actual start of the academic year, which is mostly in the first week of September, we will give extensive webinars on what you will need to know right after arrival. So the first 10 things you need to know or to do actually here, or should check out. We also recommend that you participate in INCOM, which is like the introduction week where you're matched with a group of people. We'll also get like in the city, a tour through the city, get a whole insight into all the sports and community organizations.
Parties.
But yeah.
Yeah.
With friends and definitely beforehand read on our website. That's I don't like to promote our own services, but it has really all the essential information you will need. So don't hesitate to spend an hour or two at it. It will really make your life easier before you arrive here and avoid a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I think that was everything.
Yes, sir.
Anything? I think with that, thanks a lot for joining. We will also upload this or the morning presentation to our YouTube channel. So if you missed parts of it, you can watch it back there, as well as earlier webinars from last year or the years before. We can recommend coming here and maybe see you in September.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. And don't forget that you can always reach out to us on WhatsApp and Instagram. Well, all our social media.